Hello and welcome. Today I will be doing a presentation about teaching integrated skills through arts and crafts in the EFL classroom. My name is Angie Lee and I have been in EFL education for about 12 years now, and I currently train in-service public school teachers in the Gyeonggi-do province. I'm particularly excited and passionate about this topic because I've always enjoyed arts and crafts as a student, and being able to explore and experiment ways to integrate art and language in my own classroom as well as classrooms across the country has been really fun and extremely rewarding. So today I would like to split my presentation up into three parts. First, I would like to show you examples of craft projects that I've used in my own classroom. Second, I would like to do a very short lecture about benefits, potential problems, and also some strategies that you can use to integrate arts and crafts into your own language classroom. And last but not least, I would like to do some demonstrations of the very simple craft projects that I will be showing you. So let's get started. All right, so let's get started with some examples of projects that I've done in my own classroom. And I will start with the one that kind of started it all. So this is an example of a third grade project, and by the second or third chapter, they learn the target language, what's this? And very simple objects using the sentence, it's something, for example, it's a ball, it's a cat, it's an apple. So we made this mini book, and as you can see, it says, what's this on the cover? And then I ask my student, what's this? And then they start guessing. And the answer is, it might be obvious to some adults, but not to young students. It's a pencil. And then on the other side, I ask them, what's this? And this one's a little bit harder, but they have to think about it. Sometimes I give them clues. For example, it's something that you see every day. And then eventually someone will get the right answer, and it's a carton of milk. So this is an extremely simple project. If you can imagine, it's just a piece of blank A4 paper. You fold it 2 times, and then you cut it like this, like a pair of short pants, and there you have a mini book. So with my third grade students, they spent about 30 minutes working on this. And for young students, you have to kind of scaffold their creativity. So I asked them to look around the room and find some objects that they see every day, but look at it from a different angle, or show a small hint. And so they spent about 30 minutes working on this book, and they asked me questions about how to write words and how to spell certain words. And once they finished their book, a miracle happened. They started standing up and going up to their friends and asking, what's this? What's this? And then they started guessing. So without any prompts or without me instructing them to interact with each other, they just naturally started using their books and interacting with each other and having these meaningful exchanges of language. So that was kind of the beginning of how I started using craft projects and integrating them with some listening and speaking language skills. Now, our second project is from a 6th grade class, and they are learning comparative sentences. So this is called a magic book, and as you can see, it's blank on one side, and there's a story on the other side. Now, I scaffolded their writing. This took place after they went through the listening, speaking, reading, and writing stages. And I told them to choose an animal, and they had to write some hints about this animal. So this is my example. And so I will read the hints to you. So hint number 1, I am many different colors, but I'm mostly green, blue, and gold. Hint number 2, I live in India. Hint number 3, I eat seeds, nuts, and other grains. Hint number 4, I like to show off my beautiful feathers. Hint number 5, I am bigger than a chicken. Hint number 6, my feathers are longer than a pigeon's feather. And hint number 7, I am more beautiful than any other bird. Who am I? And so students will guess. And then one student will guess right and say, it's a peacock. And I will ask them, are you sure? How did you know? Did you see the answer? And they will be like, no, teacher, I didn't. But the answer is right in front of you. It's right here. It's a peacock. And because it's a magic book, you make the peacock disappear. right? And so this can be modified in many different ways. A lot of teachers have told me they use this to describe appearances and describe jobs, but you can also modify this for even high school level. I've done this with high schoolers. Of course, in the high school example, you can only see text and no drawings. So that's the second project. The third project I would like to show you is something I call the door book. And the reason for that is because it opens like a door. Now, this is more of a 6th grade level project. So as you can see, they are learning about how to explain Korean traditional objects in English. And here we have a hanuk, a traditional Korean house, and it opens like this. So they can put their research or their English sentences inside. This is kind of like a low-tech PPT. So slide 1 and then slide 2. Now I will show you how I modify this down to 5th grade and then 3rd grade. So in 5th grade, we usually have some science-related topics about saving the earth and slogans. So this is an example. So of a door book, you have the earth, and then it opens up to how we can protect the environment or how we can save the earth. So this is one way you can use a door book. It just adds an extra dimension to visual and also text information. Now for 3rd grade, I love using this because it becomes, again, a tool for students to interact with each other. So for example, I show them this and ask them what it is, and they're like, it's a hamburger. And we're learning, I like hamburgers, I don't like fish, and so on. So I ask them, can you guess whether or not your teacher likes hamburgers? And then they're guessing, yes, she does, no, she doesn't. And then I ask them to use the target language. And so I say, ask me, do you like hamburgers? And they all repeat after me. And then I show them the answer to see if they guessed right. And obviously, I like hamburgers. And the great thing about this giant hamburger is you can pretend to eat it like that. I know it's kind of cheesy, but it's really motivating for your young learners. And also you can do the same with other food items such as fish. So I don't like fish. And they really love this one. So it's an ice cream cone and it opens to I like ice cream. So there you go with the door book. Very simple, but you can also use this to develop characters. For example, you can make characters and then kind of write their character story or descriptions of their personality and so on inside the book. And the next project I would like to show you is called a ladder book. And the reason for that is because it's arranged in stair steps like this. And so for 5th grade, when they were learning days of the week and also food items, I had them write about today's menu. And I scaffolded their writing based on the storybook, Today is Monday, by Eric Carle. So as you can see, they wrote the menu for each day based off of the structure in the storybook, but they got to choose their own food items and they created a menu for each day of the week. Now, the beauty of a ladder book is that it can go this way or horizontally. Now, if you want to consider the meaning of the form and the meaning of the content, a great way to use this is also to modify it to talk about days. For example, holidays or special days of the year. This actually looks like a calendar. But if you modify it to go vertically, you can use this as kind of a guidebook. So I've had teachers modify it into a travel brochure. This is an example of a book report. So you can discuss characters and themes and setting and so on through this guidebook template. Now, some of the teachers are so excited about this template because it's so easy to make that they think, wow, I can make this for every single chapter of the book. So they put the title of the book on the cover, and then they have students organize, for example, the important vocabulary words, the grammar structures, the reading portion, the writing portion, and then some reflection portion in this book. And for some students who are more visual learners or they need something to interact with, it's a great tool. The last project I would like to show you is more of a simplified magic book. And I use this with 5th grade to teach irregular past tense verbs. So it was kind of a motivation, but they also made very small versions. So I made some big versions for example, and then the students made smaller versions for writing and also for interacting with each other. So I'll show you 2 examples. So we have a verb in the front and it's go. And I ask the students, go where? And they look at the picture prompt and it's go to the zoo. Now I ask them, can you make a past tense sentence and elicit it, I went to the zoo. And I asked them, how did you know? How did you get that answer? Well, it was here the whole time. I went to the zoo. So this is kind of like the magic book that you saw in the beginning, but it's simplified to just 3 pieces of information: verb, location, and also your irregular past tense sentence. I'll show you one more example of this. So we have eat, and then eat what? Eat sushi, and then your irregular past tense sentence, boom, I ate sushi. Okay, so these are just a few examples of the ways I integrated arts and crafts and some target language from the curriculum in my own EFL classroom. Okay, so now I would like to start on the lecture portion of my presentation. And as I mentioned before, I will be outlining some benefits, also some potential problems, and then offering some strategies that can help you integrate arts and crafts into your English classroom. So first of all, let's go over some benefits. There are many, but out of all of them, they lower affective filters of your young students. And it does so in several ways. It first increases motivation because as you can tell with the magic book and also the door book, these forms are very fun to play with. They find it really interesting, really motivating, and they want to create the content. They want to write. And so they finish these books and also they're motivated to share them and present them with their classmates. Number 2, it increases self-confidence because projects that integrate writing and also speaking, they are a fantastic opportunity to use differentiated instruction in your classroom. So for higher proficiency level students, they can write more elaborate sentences, they can use more descriptions, and for your lower proficiency students, they can just stick with the curriculum, what the curriculum presents them with. Last but not least, it decreases their anxiety because they can use a lot of language composition skills. So instead of just focusing on their language proficiency or language abilities, they can cut, they can color, they can create. And this takes their mind off of that anxiety or embarrassment when they have to say something in English or write something in English. So all of these things are very positive things for young learners. Second is that you can integrate language skills. As I demonstrated, a lot of these projects are writing heavy or creating heavy, but if you can integrate skills, for example, presenting or interaction or communication, it is bringing together reading and writing and speaking and listening all together in one project. Secondly, when you are teaching writing, through these forms, you can scaffold student writing. And this is a really hard thing for teachers to do, but when you have a form that kind of outlines how their content looks, you can use that to scaffold and help them create their sentences or create their content. And last but not least, the great thing with these projects is that you can provide opportunities for reworking. It's not a one-off test. If you ask them to correct their sentences or redo a certain part or correct some mistakes, they can get a better grade. So this really goes into performance-based assessments and even creating student portfolios. And I love using portfolios in 5th and 6th grade where students can collect examples of their work. So in addition to writing tests, and reading tests, they can turn in their portfolio where I can track the progress that they've made throughout the year. Now, there are some potential problems of using arts and crafts in the classroom. Because I do this workshop with a lot of in-service teachers, there are some comments that come up over and over again. And the first one is, of course, this is English class, not art class. They walk into my classroom and they see the colored pencil, the scissors, the glue, and immediately they're concerned. And that's true, it is English class. And there are students who will actually say, but teacher, this feels like art class, but it's not art class. And I will present some strategies to move the focus away from drawing or coloring or cutting too much and focus more on the target language or the communication skills. Number two problem is some teachers ask me, what do I do with their work? Now, the worst thing you can ever do with student work is throw it in the trash. Because once they see it in the trash, they will never put any more effort into any of the projects or assignments you give to them. So that's a concern. What do I do with them? Should I give them feedback? Giving feedback takes a long time. The third concern is a big one on the side of the teacher is that I'm not creative. I can't draw. How can I get my students to make these books? How can I show them examples? Well, examples don't have to be perfect. They're just samples. They're just examples. The fourth thing is students don't like to draw. And this is a huge misconception. A lot of teachers think that students like to draw, but students actually really hate drawing. A lot of students feel a lot of anxiety with drawing because it's very easy to see drawing skills and abilities in a classroom. They actually like to color. So I will be presenting some strategies that will take the burden off the student and the teacher. Last but not least, a lot of teachers tell me we don't have the time and we don't have the materials to do this. And again, I will show some more strategies where this problem can be minimized. All right, so this is the important part, some strategies for using arts and crafts in the English classroom to make it more effective and to make it more meaningful. And the first thing is to always have a clear target language and set the expectations high. So I never use arts and crafts as a time filler. I make sure there's something meaningful or some aspect that is related to what they're learning at that moment. Second thing you can do is use the arts and crafts in a follow-up activity, and this is important. So bringing in a communication aspect or a speaking and listening aspect will make their projects more meaningful. Whenever students can present their work, that increases ownership, that increases pride in their work. Also, as I talked about before, you can always put their work in the student portfolio, and this demonstrates progress over a long period of time. The third thing I would like to talk about is you should provide examples to set some standards, but you should also give them room to grow, room to foster their own creativity. So that just means your examples should not be perfect. It should not be too out of reach for the students. The more elementary your examples are, the more attainable they believe their work can be. If your work is too perfect, they might feel more anxious about creating a project that looks like that. This is a great tool. Go on Google, type in any image you want, plus the words coloring pages, and you get these outlines. So all students have to do is color, cut, and glue. Again, students don't really like drawing, but they do like coloring because it doesn't take a lot of effort. When they do get to choose their pictures, color, cut, and glue, they feel the ownership and they feel the participation in creating this work. But again, they don't have to draw, they don't have to spend time doing the art part of the project. Last but not least, your projects do not have to be complex. As I showed you before, the first project is super simple, and the more simple it can be, the easier it is for you to use it and the easier the easier it is for students to create it. So these are just some strategies that you can use. And in the last part of this presentation, I will be showing you how easy it is to make some of the projects I showed you. So if you would like any of the templates that I present to you today, or you have questions or ideas, or would like some ideas, feel free to email me at angielee.giffel@gmail.com. I will try my best to get back to you as soon as possible, but I am always here and happy to answer any questions. Now, if you would like a list of resources to look at, these are some great articles and also some of the things I've referenced for my research. So let's go on to the last part of the presentation where I will be demonstrating how to create some of the simple crafts. Okay, so first I would like to demonstrate how to make a magic book. And what you will need is 2 pieces of paper, one preferably white or beige, and then 1 piece of color paper, and a pair of scissors and a pencil. Now, I typically like to use pastel tone color paper because students have to write something, so it's easier to read their writing. Now, what you're going to do is first take your base color. So most of your book will be this color. And what you're going to do is fold it in half, just like this. And then you're going to fold up each side in half, just like this. And you'll do the same on the other side. So you will have a W or an M. But as long as you find the W, this is the main shape of your book. Now with your paper that you're going to put on the inside, what you're going to do is fold this in half. And fold one side in half. Because what you need to do is cut 2 long strips. So you're only using half of the paper. You'll cut a strip here and a strip here. And I've already cut the 2 strips. So here we go. And it is just 1/4 of the original size paper. All right, so now you have the base of your book, which is in the shape of a W, and you have 2 long strips, which are 1/4 of this size. Now, what I like to do is I prepare some rulers for the students. So again, they're not measuring too much. They're not focusing on making as much. I try to help them as much as possible. And so I prepare these measured rulers. And so what you do is you grab the middle of the base. So you're grabbing just this middle of the W part, and you're going to measure out 4 parts. So there you go, 1, 2, and 3. And now you're going to make some cuts only on the middle part. So you take your scissors, you make a cut here, here, and here. Now when I do this with students, I always demonstrate first because many of them will cut in the wrong place, but you will end up with cuts right here, only in the middle part. Now with your long strips, you're going to weave it into one side of your book first. It doesn't matter the order, you can go over or under. So here's one side. Now the trick of this is that the other side must be opposite. So if this is purple, this must be beige. If this is beige, this must be purple. So this is kind of the tricky part.
So I'm going to weave this in the opposite direction. And there you go. So in order to find the magic portion, or the magic component, it is right in the middle of your W. So if you're looking at it like this or like this, it is right here. So this will be the front of your book. You find the center of your W, you open it up, and this is the secret compartment. And when you pull it out, it disappears. So this is the magic book. And now I would like to show you how to make the ladder book. And for the ladder book, all you need is 3 pieces of paper, 3 different colors. And it's very simple. So you're going to stack the pieces of paper just like this. So you're going to create the ladder or the steps. And it is up to you how narrow or wide you want these steps to be. But once you've stacked your papers, all you have to do is fold this part down to complete the rest of your stair steps or ladders. So some teachers don't really like this center color being repeated, but I prefer having more spaces or more categories that students can fill with information. So I don't really mind this step being the same color. So all you have to do is fold it down. And the hardest part of this project is helping all your young students staple it. So just going to staple it 1, 2, and voila, you're finished. And that is the ladder book. And the last thing I would like to show you is how to make the door book. And this template is one that I made. It actually has a window and a door on it. And I will demonstrate with this template because it's a little bit easier to visualize. So I give this to my students and then I tell them to turn it to the blank side. And what they're going to do is fold until they see the window and the door, and do so again on the other side. And then they will flip the paper back to the front, and their goal is to close the window or close the door. And so once it meets in the middle, you can just fold it down, and there you go. You can cut this in half and do 2 projects. So for example, a lot of my students are learning about the weather. So they can write some weather conditions. For example, it's sunny or it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's snowing. And then they can walk around and have kind of a conversation and guess the weather. So you can use it this way. Or when you're talking about objects in a house, for example, you can pretend that this is a living room. And you can open and show, oh, there's a sofa in the living room. Now, for 3rd grade, when they made their food books, I gave them a blank template like this, and you would fold it the exact same way. So again, turn the paper over to the blank side, and just fold in where you see the dotted lines right here. Same with the other side. And flip it back to the front. Now, a lot of students try really hard to match up these lines, but I tell them that it doesn't really matter. All you need to do is close the door. So once you close the door, mission accomplished. Close the door, and there you go. You have a very simple door book. Now, if you would like to do this on bigger paper, all you have to do is measure the length and divide by 6. Then you will get the measurements for these outside panels, and then you can fold and recreate this door book on a larger scale. And that is it for the demonstrations. They are very easy crafts that you can do with your students. And if you would like any of these templates, or if you would like any suggestions or any help with the crafts, feel free to email me, And thank you for paying attention and participating in my workshop. Have a great day.